Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the NatureBoy, and chapter 1083 of One Piece just dropped yesterday. At least the scans have. So, before we get into today's video, if you have not read chapter 1083, because depending on when this video comes out, most likely the official release will not have been released yet. So, if you have not read this chapter yet, you're being warned right now. This entire video will be discussing a major event that has occurred in 1083. So please leave the video now and come back once you've read it. So with that out of the way, let's get into the video. And if you do get enjoyment out of today's video, then consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It helps me go a long way in making these videos for you guys. So like I said, 1083 just dropped, and I've been seeing a lot of mixed reactions with this chapter because, of course, with the previous chapters that we got, they were all very exciting, very action-packed. We got stuff like Garp versus Kuzan. We got stuff with Blackbeard and Kuzan, Shanks and Kid. They've been very interesting chapters. And this chapter, I wouldn't say it was any less good, but it was a very different tone to it. So I really enjoyed this chapter because we got to get a lot of insight as to what happened in the Reverie with the Revolutionary Army. And even if it is not an action-packed chapter, these things are very important to me. But one thing that caught everyone's interest about this chapter, that everybody is talking about so far, is this group, this so-called God's Knights or Holy Knights. And I want to weigh in and give my opinion on this topic. So obviously at first glance, for everyone that was reading, this goes without saying, the man in the middle appears to look exactly like Shanks, with the same hair, the same coat with the collar folded upwards, and of course the same sword in Griffin with the exact same hilt and the curved handle as well. So a lot of people naturally are speculating that this is Shanks, and I want to give my opinion on this topic. So of course, obviously it looks like Shanks. I think we all thought that right away. And one thing that I did was I immediately started looking around at the other members, the other silhouettes, and tried to see if they resembled Ben Beckman or Yasopp or Lucky Roo or any other of the red hair pirates. And as soon as I started scanning these other characters, these other silhouettes, none of them resembled any red hair pirate as far as I could tell. However, none of them really resembled anyone that seemed familiar in the story that we know of, except for one. But one silhouette aside from the middleman did seem to resemble a character that we know of already. And if you look at the silhouettes again, the one to the left, if you're reading it, so if you're looking at the picture to the left of the guy in the middle, the one with the hat and the horns, seems to resemble page 1 an awful lot to me. And again, that was just my natural reactions upon my first read of the chapter. I mean, if you look at the hat, the shape of the hat, the horns, the length of the two horns that are popping up above the hat, it very much seems to resemble page 1 to me. However, I don't necessarily think this is page 1. I actually don't think it could possibly be page 1 at all, because it would just be way too far out there for a member of the Tobiropo, perhaps one of the weakest members of the Tobiropo, who has already fallen in Wano, to come back as a God's Knight. So it just doesn't match there, but I did want to point this out. And besides that, no other silhouette seems to resemble a known character so far, at least not that I could tell. So now the main question on everybody's mind is that mysterious man in the middle Shanks? Let me just start off by giving reasons why it could be Shanks. Well, for one, we already know that he seemingly has some kind of ties to Mariejois and or the Five Elders in the way that they treated him at the Reverie, with them saying something along the lines of, "Since it's you, red hair." And we also see Sengoku say the exact same thing at the end of Marineford when he stopped the war. Another reason is because many people have speculated for years now that Shanks is a celestial dragon, and it is possible, if these holy knights are celestial dragons strong enough and dedicated enough to protect their own people, that a celestial dragon, Shanks, could be the leader of this group of strong and unique celestial dragons that stand above the rest to protect all the other celestial dragons and the Holy Land of Mariejois. And another reason is because a lot of people have also speculated throughout the years that Shanks is actually evil all along, and that twist will be revealed at some point in the story. And if this is true, what a better way to reveal this twist than to show us that Shanks is the leader of this group called the Holy Knights, and he is going to end up either fighting the Revolutionary Army or fighting Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates come the final war at the end of the series. And lastly, there's already so much mystery behind Shanks' character at this point that anything is possible really at this moment in time. His character can go in any direction and it wouldn't be going against what we know of Shanks already. So now let me give you guys some reasons as to why it may not be Shanks. Well, for one, Shanks wears shorts that seem to cut above his ankles but below his knees and go halfway across his shins. And he also wears sandals, of course, as we know. And if we look at this silhouette, if we look at the pants and the shoes, they don't seem to resemble shorts or sandals at all. It seems like this character just wears like regular dress pants or regular pants, whatever you want to call it. And he wears this along with normal shoes, and the pants look like they're tucked into those shoes or boots. Definitely doesn't resemble sandals and definitely does not resemble shorts. And another reason is Oda always plays with silhouettes, and many times this leads to us being deceived. I think it's undoubtedly Oda's intentions to make us think this is Shanks, but most times Oda does this and wants us to think something subtly without flat out making that thing the case or making it a confirmed truth. He tends to throw us a curveball in the end later on and surprise us with something different, something that still works because the thing we originally thought was never really confirmed to begin with, just sort of implied. And I think that can definitely be the case here with Shanks. And the third reason would be that if it is Shanks, why isn't his crew with him? Who are these new characters surrounding him? Does his crew know about him being a god's knight? And are they okay with it? Are they all bad? If Shanks is bad, does that mean that all of the red hair pirates are bad as well? So these are questions that make me doubt that it is Shanks. So personally, I don't think it's Shanks, especially for the second reason I mentioned about Oda always deceiving us with silhouettes and then throwing us a curveball later on. However, there is an existing character in the story that I think could very well be this mystery man who supposedly leads the Holy Knights. A character that I think would fit in perfectly in this role and would elevate this group's threat level to a maximum. And that character is one of the 5 elders, specifically the blonde Gorosei member. Now you guys might be wondering, how the hell does the blonde Gorosei tie into any of this? So let me just give you guys some of the reasons why I think it is the blonde Gorosei. If you remove everything else from that silhouette figure and you simply look at the head and hair, it resembles that blonde Gorosei far more than it resembles Shanks in my opinion. Shanks has slicked back hair while the blonde Gorosei is slightly shorter hair and more slicked to the side rather than the back, just like this silhouette seems to resemble. So now what about the coat and the sword? That's definitely Shanks, right? Well, I want you guys to look back at chapter 908 when the Gorosei are walking down the hall to the empty throne to speak with Imu. All of them are wearing coats, and his seems an awful lot like the one we see in the silhouette as well. Not to mention, he does wear long pants and shoes that would resemble the same one we see in the silhouette rather than Shanks' shorts and sandals. It's very possible that he does fight with a sword. Remember, we know next to nothing about these guys except that they are the highest known authority figure within the world government, of course besides Imu, who seems to rule over even them from behind the scenes. Ever since we got the introduction of Saint J. Garcia Saturn moving in on the Straw Hats on Egghead, I was always of the belief that after waiting all these years for them, now that one of the 5 elders was properly introduced with a name and is finally making his move, that very well we will get the rest of them following in suit with the introduction of their names and their powers and abilities and whatnot. We've waited decades just to know their names. I can only imagine all of them will make their first moves relatively close to one another. And so I've always been expecting to see the others make a move really soon once we got Saint J. Garcia. I mean, think about this. What if each Gorosei member, each of the 5 elders, is something different than just being a 5 elder? What if they each bring something unique from the other 4 that they bring to the table when they all meet? So for example, if this blonde Gorosei member truly is the leader of the Holy Knights, that would be something completely unique that separates him from the other 4 members, that makes him unique and makes him stand out. And perhaps it's even possible that he dresses more diplomatically when he is with them because that fits the tone of the moment. But when he is in combat, when he is playing the role of a holy knight, then he is more dressed in a more combat way, like we see here with the sword and the coat. That would explain the slight differences in appearances between the silhouette and the regular form we're used to seeing him in. It's possible that the other 4 members also hold equally but different titles or positions of their own, separate from just being one of the 5 elders. Like maybe the Gandhi looking dude was previously the world's strongest swordsman. Maybe on Egghead we will learn a lot more about Saint J. Garcia and what title or position he once or currently holds. I think it would be a very interesting way to properly introduce the 5 elders, giving them each a unique impact within their introduction. Similar to the admirals and how even though they were equal rank and presumably exact equals in power, each individual admiral's introduction stood out because of how unique their devil fruit powers were. I mean, think about it. The highlight of each of their introductions was their powers. Kuzan's introduction in Long Ring Long Island, the highlight was his ice powers and how he was able to casually freeze Luffy and freeze Nico Robin. Later on we get Kizaru coming into Sabaody and we see how fast he is when he fights all of the supernova at once. And later on in Marineford we see Akainu, and the very first thing he does is show us his magma abilities when he destroys Jozu's ice. And in my opinion, if it weren't for their powers, we would have only had that significant impact with Aokiji's introduction. But then we would have felt less of that impact once Kizaru was introduced, and even less than that once we finally got Akainu. But their powers is what made each of their introductions special. I think with the 5 elders, it can be similar to this, but with positions instead of power. Or maybe it could be the combination of both position and power. So let me know who you guys think that silhouette could be, if not Shanks. For me, I think Shanks is just too obvious of an answer, and Oda never really goes with the obvious answer. So comment down below what you guys think, like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and be sure to check out this video on Jewelry Bonnie and why I believe she is going to be going after the Revolutionary Army the next time we see her. So check that out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.